Hello everyone. I just wanted to do a short video talking a little bit about this issue of interviewing and some of the kind of preliminaries that we have received. One of the things that I want you to make sure that you do is that you're finding yourself having the time to organize your life so that you can see right from the beginning of the week, each week, the modules will be available to you starting in during the mid day on Sunday. So you can start looking at this, and I would like you to look at the tasks and look at carefully at the timeline. For instance, there's some misunderstanding this week that some of the things that started last week actually ended up being completed this week. So I wanted you to have some time to develop this idea of interview little by little, first thinking about questions as we did in the first week, and then thinking about how you would kind of organize a particular idea, right, for the interviews, and then to trying out on Sunday during the weekend a mock interview with a peer, and then this week conducting interview and posting that by Friday, right? So first, please pay attention to this unfolding, right? Look at it, look at the tasks, but then go back to it. And before you start engaging with any of these tasks, look at all the material there. Think through the process. Read as much as you can. I think that one of my advices in terms of the process and taking an online class, particularly for those of you who are new to this, is to go little by little, to find times each day in the week in which you can do something. You can take some notes, you can watch the video, you can read something, you can see a podcast, and start thinking about that process. All that is there is a preparation, hopefully a helpful preparation for you to do these tasks that then are a process of reflecting back on this preparation. Okay, what I want to talk a little bit about the interviewing is look at the Blackboard for this week, and you see that in the middle there you have kind of 5 researcher skills for interviews, and this comes from Berg, and I think that's very interesting, and that's the key thing. The purpose of the interview is not to get an answer, right? The purpose of the interview is to really develop a sense of the context, of understanding how people are thinking, kind of fostering some ideas about the issue, not only in the person that you're interviewing, right, trying to probe that person to speak and to reflect on the process, but also for yourself as a reflector, to take some of these things, not everything that is there, but some key things, and kind of put them in an organized way as you then kind of analyzing the data, right, the information that you get. So part of this is this idea of an inquisitive mind, not only from you as the interviewer, but also trying to foster that into the interviewee. That's why we start with semi-structured interviews that have something that is steady, right, questions that you organize, but that also ask you to kind of probe. So you have the first question, somebody answers something very shortly, right? So you ask them about, so how do you think about the role of music education today? Then I answer, well, the role of music education is very important. I think it needs to be in schools, and I see it as something that helps foster students' understanding of community. And then I stop. And then you can follow up and say, ooh, this is very interesting. How do you define community? What are you thinking when you're thinking about community? I had to think a little bit more about that and say, well, community is something where, particularly when we're talking about schools, where we learn together, where we challenge each other, and we do things in a manner in which there is a relationship between the teacher and the students. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Why is it that a relationship can help in learning? Then I have to go back and so on. Right? Do you know what I mean? So I have that kind of key question, and then I do 1, 2, 3 probing elements. But I'm very carefully listening, observing, and sensing, which is the second element of the 5 research elements. Right? So I'm really paying attention to it. But I'm also having to use my own skills and what I have read about the issue, and kind of the more you become an expert on it, the easier it is to do the interviews. And then I'm trying to do, I have to adapt adapt, I have to be flexible. Sometimes a person does not want to talk more about that, and you sense that, and you say, okay, move forward. Sometimes you have to say, oh, that's interesting, community. I heard that there's some research on community of practice, and how the idea of community of practice is one that develops little by little and helps a lot of students to become more motivated to participate in the learning. What do you think about that? And then the person, right? So adaptability and flexibility. And then the last part is, as I mentioned before, the understanding the issue. So I have to have some points of reference. I try to read about what I'm doing, not only about the specific thing, but also about what I'm about to, the issue. Not only the specific thing being the interview, but also the issue I'm interviewing. So I want you to, as you continue to do this, and as you reflect on the interviews that you've already done, or as you're thinking about how you're going to put all this together for tomorrow, consider all this, and how you report back to us is providing some taste of what the interview was like, right? So your interaction with it, providing some of the answers, right? This is important, and we saw that in some of the people that sent that earlier. But then also providing a sense of your own reflection on it, what you've learned from the interview, and what you're learning from the process itself. Okay, I hope this was helpful in just kind of helping you think a little bit about this process and how this is the key element, the key process for any kind of research enterprise, and particularly for this course, is how do we continue to develop the sense of how do we learn how to learn from people. I mean, that's the key element in research, is how do we learn how to learn from people, what they are trying to say, what they cannot say, but it's underneath right responses, what they're perhaps afraid of saying, or what they really do want to say that goes overboard, right? So all those kinds of things in how what someone says is related to what somebody else says or contradicts what somebody else says, and then where the issues really lie, right? Again, the research is this process of learning how to learn, and learning how to learn from people, from the community, from the context, from what we see, from what we sense, from what we are able to gather, right? And then offer back to the community, to scholars, to other teachers, how to proceed, how to change things, how to reorganize them. But that's the key thing in terms of the research and what the goal of research is. The goal of research is not to have all the proper, steps and procedures. The goal of research is to have inquisitive questions, to understand an issue, try to probe people to be reflective about that, and be reflective ourselves into that process, offering something back out of this gathering of information. Okay, so give you some thought to that as you're finishing up your assignments for this week, and I look forward to interacting with you in the next couple of weeks. We have a workshop on Saturday, and we have another one which that will be required for you on February 14th, 15th. You can choose to come here on Friday or on Saturday. And in between, we're going to try to meet once with our class, research class and psychology class, just as we did in January. So we'll try to meet the February date as well. So we'll set up something very shortly for that. I hope everything is well, and I hope this was helpful in just kind of helping you think through the end of this assignment for Friday. Okay, bye-bye.